Hello and welcome to another English composition video. As you can see, in this video, we're going to be talking about analytical writing. The rhetorical analysis paper that you're working on requires analytical writing, which is a very different kind of writing than persuasive writing or informational writing. All right, if you're going to be successful at any kind of writing assignment for any class, whether it's mine or anybody else's, even in other departments like sociology, you want to think about what kind of writing is this instructor asking for. And so we need to talk about what analytical writing looks like. If you're trying to write a paper that has a three-pronged thesis and 5 paragraphs where you're trying to convince the reader to agree with your thesis, that's not analytical writing. That's persuasive writing. And you're going to lead to problems if you have that approach with the rhetorical analysis paper. So, before you go any further with the video, be sure you have reviewed this example because I believe that learning to write better is just like learning to do anything else. If you want to learn to throw a football well, what do? You look at tape of people that throw footballs really well, right? And so to learn how to do what I'm expecting you to do in this paper, I have a nice sample paragraph from a paper that received an A from a past student. Now, it's not a perfect paper, but it's pretty good, right? And so that should help kind of motivate you, but also help you see what does analytical writing look like. Now, of course, this is about a different topic because I'm using a new topic this semester, but the rest of the assignment instructions are exactly the same. So if you haven't looked at this yet, go ahead and just read it really quickly and see if you can do these things at the bottom. I mean, you don't have to physically write on it, but just try to differentiate where is the student explaining why the passage is an appeal to logos or what it means, and where is he or she explaining the effect it's designed to have on the reader, right? Then on the next page, there is an example of what not to do that I wrote. That's not from a student, of course. That's from me. Okay, so I've downloaded the paragraph to make it easier for me to make marks on it while we talk about it. I'm hoping you've paused the video and read it if you haven't already. So just like you, this student has to write about how the rhetorical appeals are invoked in the article that they chose. And they have to write about the target audience, the purpose of the article, all those same things as you. So this is a body paragraph. So it's a paragraph about one of the rhetorical appeals. And so look, let's just answer this question right away. I mean, the paragraph's about appeals to logos. And it's very easy to tell that because the student created a nice topic sentence here to make clear that this entire paragraph is going to be about the author Buckman's use of appeals to logos. I would encourage you to structure your paper in a similar fashion. You want to focus, an entire paragraph on each appeal so that you can thoroughly explore multiple examples of where it is invoked in the article which you chose. Underline where the student identifies specific lines from the article. How can we tell where he's or she is identifying specific lines? It's where quotation marks are used. You use quotes from the article to point to specific sections so that you can talk about the function of that passage. You can't write broadly about the article and say, yes, this author uses a lot of logos. The facts are convincing. Different facts serve different purposes. They serve the argument differently. So you have to delve into the meaning and purpose and function of each. That's how analytical writing works, right? Next. So you can see the student has pointed to specific passages. That's the first step, right? Next, they need to explain why the passage is an appeal to logos, right? And so let's go ahead and we'll color that part yellow, okay? So here you can see they're explaining that this is an appeal to logos because it identifies one of the problems plaguing the National Football League. Okay. Down here, there's another example of an appeal to logos. And here is the explanation of what the passage is doing. They even offer some further elaboration on the passage here to make sure that the reader understands what it means. And even though you haven't read the Buckman article, I would imagine this helps you understand the function of these passages. So that's good, but there's even another step, right? And this is where it gets really interesting. If you're going to do analytical writing, you have to think about the relationship with the author and the audience, and you have to think about, why did the author put that passage there? What is its designed effect? And one of the reasons this is a great paragraph is the student takes great care to do that. So this is all about what is the designed effect. Note that the student does not say whether they agree with it or not. The student does not weigh in and criticize the article or not. Your opinion about the topic does not belong in the paper. If it's clear that whether you are agreeing or disagreeing with the author on the topic, you already have a problem. You should be able to analyze how the rhetoric in the article works. You should be an unbiased outside academic observer. And as you can see, it doesn't sound like the student agrees or disagrees. They are just explaining what Buckman is doing. Do you notice how the word audience is right in there? The word logos is in there. I know it's a funny word to use because it's Greek, but it needs to be in the paper. You have to say the names of the appeals to write about them. Look, here's more explanation of effect. Why did Buckman do this? What's the purpose of all this? What is the designed effect on the audience? So you see how there's sort of a multi-step process for each quote that you deal with. I'm moving kind of fast here, but that's because I don't want you to get bored. I want you to watch the whole video, and because I know you can pause it and back things up. That's the cool thing about videos. Okay, why is Buckman's name included with the quotes from the article? Well, you already know, right? I mean, if you review the materials, the prior materials, then you know this is an in-text citation. And in any kind of academic writing, if you're going to use direct quotes or facts, even if you use your own words to describe the facts, you still have to provide proper attribution. You have to show where those facts are from. If you use a direct word-for-word quote, as indicated by the quotation marks, you must indicate which source on the works cited list the quote comes from. So for this student, it was the Buckman article. If you're writing about Jarrett, very simple. It's just going to be Jarrett. The paragraph numbers are not paginated in any of the articles I've given you. And so according to MLA, you do not need to include page numbers or paragraph numbers for an online source unless the online source provides the pagination, which none of these sources do. Right? So if you're writing about the York article, it's just York. If you're writing about Ortner, the Ortner article, then you guessed it, it's just Ortner. It's very straightforward for in-text citation when for those three articles. Okay, so that's why Buckman's name is there. Keep that in mind for your first paragraph too, where you're providing background information about the censorship discussion. You're going to need to use some facts from either the Wall Street Journal article or the Issues and Controversies articles, and then you're going to need to provide proper in-text citation. The Issues and Controversies articles don't have named authors because they're written by a group author. So the in-text citation would be the first few words of the title of the article in quotes. I think we've covered everything on this paragraph. Plus, we're getting close to 10 minutes on the video, and I like these to be short enough that I know people will watch them. Don't want to scare you away. So anyway, this is a great paragraph, and because it's thorough, because it does all these things. By the way, be sure to, in addition to reviewing this, be sure to check my feedback on your discussion board post where you practiced analytical writing. That was designed to help you get the paper started. And so I wrote you comments talking about other questions that you want to try to answer so that you can create a really nicely fully developed paragraph like this one. Okay, let's talk about some reasons why this one does not work well. I wrote it myself. It took me about 5 seconds, right? Because it's terrible. So the first part is just copied from the other one. Because the thing is, a lot of students are good at finding quotes that are examples of logos, ethos, or pathos, or quotes that help them talk about target audience. But then they slip into giving their own opinion, right? So that's problematic here. That should not be in the paper. It's doubly problematic because it's got I statements in there. There should not be any first person or second person writing in the papers where you're writing for an academic audience like this one. You shouldn't use I or you. Those approaches are too informal for an academic audience. They expect for the focus to be on your ideas as opposed to you personally. Also, asking questions is much too informal for an academic paper. Same with contractions. Spell those words out in academic papers. Of course, this is opinion here too, right? The student has sort of presented it, or not the student since I wrote it. I presented it as a fact, but of course it's not. It's an opinion, right? And then here they're bringing in, this is something I see in this paper where instead of doing that really hard work of analysis, the student says, well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find another source, and that's going to help me talk about this quote. No, it's not. If you've read the article, and you've reviewed the materials about rhetorical analysis and logos, ethos, and pathos and all that wonderful stuff, the answers are up here, right? You're not going to get the answers looking for a quote in a different article like this sample person did with me. You also want to avoid exclamation points in academic writing. Again, much too informal for an audience like that. And when you adopt writing that doesn't fit the reader's expectations, it hurts your credibility, right? And so, of course, I take points off because I want you to have a high level of credibility when you submit papers in classes beyond this one and also in your career when you have to do writing. That's about all I have. Be sure you review the rest of the materials for this week. As always, if you have questions, reach out to me. You can message me in Canvas, or you can stop by my virtual student support hours listed on the homepage, as always, underneath the picture of one of my mini pets. Take care.